Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I am SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram, and a special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. Today, I am here with my friend Robin. Her channel is Lady Robins. She is just so cheerful and uplifting. If you've not checked out her videos, she just always makes me feel happy when I watch her videos, and I really enjoy them. And also another cool thing that she does is she shows a Starbucks mug every video. She has one right now.
Of course I do.
So what mug do you have today?
Okay, so today we are in Las Vegas.
Awesome.
And I picked this one on purpose because this is where the obsession started. My sister and niece went down to Las Vegas to do one of those rock and roll marathons.
Okay.
And we're not runners. Do not think this is we're out there running, 13 miles a day. We are the turtles at the back, right? I've walked, I think, 5 rock and roll half marathons. Okay, it takes me around 3 hours and 45 minutes, 4 hours to walk a rock and roll marathon. Anyway, my sister and niece went to Vegas and did a rock and roll marathon, and I went over to her house just, to see the badge. She gave me a cup of coffee, and she gave me a cup of coffee in her version of this mug, and I'm like, oh, that's the perfect mug. It holds the right amount of coffee, and it fits my hand. And then she said, well, they're in other cities, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? She goes, oh, there's a Seattle, there's a Washington, there's a Pike Place Market. The obsession was on.
That's so funny. That is so funny. It's another rabbit hole like me with my Ray Dunn books.
Exactly. So, yeah.
That's so cool. Well, that's kind of a fun thing to see in all your videos. I like how you show, it's kind of like your thing, how you show what mug you have. And yeah, that's really neat. So
yeah, they make me happy there. And, the worst part of it is the fact that my husband keeps declaring that our cabinets are going to fall off the wall because there's so many of them.
Mine is like, do you really need any more mugs? Like, we have a bunch. I was like, are you kidding me? Of course I do. I'm a tea drinker. Hello.
The correct answer to that question is always yes.
Yes, exactly. All right. So let's jump into some questions. The first one is, why did you start a Flosstube, and were there any particular motivations?
So I started a Flosstube for exactly what we're doing here. I wanted to make stitchy friends, and it's not that I don't have a couple of stitchy friends. I just wanted more stitchy friends. And I watched Flosstube probably for about 4 months before I decided that I could actually do that. And I met Erin, the 2 Martini Stitcher, because of her Flosstube. She was talking about, she's got a daughter that goes to the UW, and I'm like, oh, I'm a Husky. And, she lives right up here, and she goes to,
yep.
Yeah, she goes to Threadneedle Street. And I just thought, oh, I should reach out. And after watching her, and then of course, everybody else, I kind of thought, well, the only way I'm going to expand my circle of stitchy friends is by being brave and recording a Flosstube. So that's what I did. Yeah. And the Flosstube community is fantastic. I have met so many wonderful people, both in person and virtually. And I have to say, Flosstube did exactly what I hoped it would do. It made me stitchy friends, which I'm so thankful for.
Yeah, we have such an amazing community. And like our Acorns group, when we were doing First Thursdays, I know you and Erin would kind of ride down on the train and I would drive, right. But I'm going to miss that. But Flosstube kind of helps with that lack of being able to get together. And so is Zoom. Zoom's nice too. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the next question is a subscriber question, and they were just wondering if you have a blog.
Okay, I will confess that I started a blog And this was when I was making cards.
Oh,
I like to rubber stamp and all that sort of stuff. And so, I would look at blogs from other card makers. It's impossible. You have to list every product, every ink pad, every color watercolor you use. And I think I did 6 of them. And I'm like, this is no fun.
A lot of work is what I've been told. So
yeah, and it was like, this is not, and I went from card making, to kind of Flosstube and Crossstitch.
mm-hmm.
And I thought, again, kind of the card making was the same sort of thing. I'd like to meet card makers in my area, and I probably need a blog. And I decided, I
don't need it that much.
Flosstube's a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it definitely is. I don't know how Priscilla keeps up on her blog because, with the amount of projects she does and the recipes, and everybody just wants it like right now.
Yeah, I'm way too lazy.
Yeah, me too. So how did you learn to stitch, and how long have you been stitching?
Okay, so that is a crazy question for me, because I learned how to stitch when I worked in a telephone call center for Northwest Airlines. I took reservations over the phone, and I'm telling you, all those ladies in the call center, they all sat there and they took the reservations. But there's enough time between calls where the passenger is trying to figure out, oh, do I want to seat in seat 6A, or do I want to seat in 17J or whatever. I'm making this stuff up, but you know what I mean, there's enough time that you can sit there and go, well, let me know when you make your decision, blah blah blah. And so I was surrounded by people that were cross stitching, and I remember looking at those people thinking, I'm never cross stitching, because if I cross stitch, I'm going to stay in this job forever, and I don't want to do this my whole life. And then one day, one of the gals had, like, I think it was, I think it was just Cross Stitch and Country Crafts, or it was a magazine from the 90s. And she had an issue sitting on her desk, and I had a particularly boring call. And so I snagged her magazine, and I was just flipping through it, and I spotted something that I thought, oh my gosh, I want to make that. And from there, it was like, okay, Dottie, how do you do this? And how do you get the supplies? And where do you get the supplies? And it was the whole rabbit hole thing. So I learned to cross stitch from all those wonderful gals in Northwest Airlines Reservation Center back in the 90s. And
that's awesome.
And I got it right here.
Oh, okay, cool.
This is the first thing I ever stitched.
Oh, that's adorable. It's a little teddy bear.
Yeah, I got a little tiny kit at probably Michael's or Joann's, and I brought it in, and I think it was Dottie who walked me through how to read the pattern, how to figure it out.
And your stitches, they look amazing for like
your first
project. Like, it looks very neat.
Yeah, and so then I went crazy, and then this was my second project.
Oh wow, yeah, that's kind of a big jump.
Okay,
into a little bit bigger.
And then from there, I made a table runner that had nutcrackers on the end. That had 4 or 5 nutcrackers on the end for my sister for Christmas, because my sister loves nutcrackers. And that was it. But I'm telling you, those ladies though, they were great. And you'll laugh, Becca, because they all stitched on scroll frames. So I learned how to stitch on a scroll frame.
Oh.
I've got scroll frames all over my house.
I do too. I might have to have you teach me how to put my fabric on, because I can't do it.
Yeah. So that's where it started. And I stitched. I always stitched. But when my son came along, there was no time. So I took a 15-year break from stitching, because I didn't have enough,
free time. Yeah.
I didn't have enough time. You know, you got to make sure you're raising a good person.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I actually, you know, cross stitch is a good like time killer because I used to work in a call center for a fundraising company when we lived in Michigan, and I was able to stitch and get some pieces done there too. It's just so nice because there's so much dead space, you know,
Right.
for jobs like that. So yeah, cross stitching is perfect for that.
Right.
So the next question is, what is your favorite project that you've stitched?
Easy. Of course, you know, being an overachiever, I brought 3.
That's awesome. People love to see projects, though.
Well, I just finished this one, and you guys,
that's one of my favorites that you've done.
Garden.
I love it.
I love this. I should have put something dark behind it. I'm
Oh
sorry.
no, you can see it. You can see
Can you see it?
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be one of my absolute all-time favorite stitches. I love that.
It's beautiful. It really is. It's an amazing chart.
Yep. And then the other one, I finished this one this year, is Pretty Little Seattle.
I thought you were going to choose that one. That's a lot of work.
You know, it's almost Haid-like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all filled in.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a little bit right around here that isn't filled in.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I love this one. And I've already downloaded the Pretty Little Hawaii. I might start that next year. Okay, and then my last one. This one I actually did in Northwest Airlines reservations.
Oh, okay.
So this is an oldie.
Oh, wow.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So this is back in the day when you would pay $1 million to get one of those hand cut mats.
Oh yeah.
So there's just like holly leaves up there. And I have no idea. I can't find the chart. I have no idea who this is by.
Well, if anybody knows, let us know, because it'd be good to stick one of those little stickers on the back so that you have the information. So
yeah, you know, and I could sit there and count it out so I could figure out what fabric it is and all that stuff. But I'm sure, you know, whatever it is, I did it on the called for fabric and used the called for DMCs because I didn't know until Flosstube that you could change stuff.
Yep. Yeah. That's a whole new world. So what do you enjoy most about stitching? You know, oh gosh, that's a good question. I remember watching your interview with Audrey Stitchy Witch 42, and she talked about how she likes the whole thing. She likes kitting it up. She likes the actual stitching. She likes the finishing. And I would say, based on the fact that these were done in the 90s, I like the stitching. I don't like finishing. Finishing is hard for me because I'm always afraid of making, like, oh, if I do a pillow, but what if I should have made it into an ornament? Or if I made it an ornament, maybe I should have framed it. I mean, I get like completely hampered with the decision of what to do with it once I'm done with it. Yeah. If I don't frame it, if I don't just stick it in a frame, then I'm afraid of making a decision. Like, I've never done anything on a flat fold or a drum. I think a lot of the times you can get an idea from the front of the charts, like how they finished it. But the other thing is, it has to, like, for me, kind of tell me, if that makes sense. Yeah. How to finish them, whether it would be a pillow or a flat fold kind of thing. But yeah, I was nervous too. Like, what if you cut? Exactly. Yeah. So I would say I like the kitting up. That part is super fun. And of course, I love the stitching. I love stitching. And then it seems like, you know, I love starting a piece. That's so much fun, putting in those first few stitches. And then of course, you know, my attempt on a little wax and wane. And then when I get to, like, it's, you know, 3/4 done, then I'm like, now I want to finish it. Yeah, just the whole stitching process is just perfect. So I know you're gonna like this question because I know you love books. So what is your favorite genre of book or movie? So I've been thinking about how to answer this question because my first thought is to tell you, it's easier for me to tell you what I don't like
I don't like horror.
Oh, okay.
I don't like to be afraid. I don't mind a little suspense, and I don't mind a little anxiety, you know, a little tension. You know, I love a good thriller. I love a good mystery. I love young adult fiction, especially fantasy and science fiction. I don't like horror. And in terms of movies, I think I'm getting old because I used to love anything action and adventure, lots of booms and lots of car chases and all that sort of stuff. And now I'm like, no, I like the Hallmark Channel. I like home things.
The Hallmark Channel goes hand in hand with stitching. So it's not that you're getting old. It works well with stitching.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so often we'll be watching something and they'll give commercial for a movie, and especially if there's lots of blood and guts, I'm like, oh, that looks horrible. I don't want to watch that.
Yeah, the blood and guts and gore, I'm not that big into.
No.
My husband on the other hand likes that, but not so much.
No.
Yeah, I do like every so often when you do book recommendations or you talk about what books you're reading, like in your videos and stuff like that too. So I'm sure they're getting recommendations for sure. So
I'm glad you like that stuff, because I'm like, well, it's not really a Flosstube. I don't know if I'm breaking the rules.
a lot of Flosstubers put that in there though, you know, and I think that, you know, reading kind of goes hand in hand with stitching as well. It's a relaxing type of thing. So I think a lot of stitchers enjoy that. So yeah. So what fictional place would you most like to go?
I've got two.
Awesome.
Of course. Okay, people have already said it before, but I would adore going to Hogwarts. That would totally, you know, do it for me. I love those books. I listen to them on audio. I reread them. I just love those characters. I love that place. You know,
it would be amazing. Definitely.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. The second place I'd like to go, if I could, I would like to see the Starship Enterprise.
Cool too, yeah.
And you know what? I would like to see all of the different iterations, you know, from Captain Pike, you know, to Captain Kirk, to all of them in between, to Jean-Luc Picard. I'd like to see all of them.
That would be really cool. That would.
See, I'm such a big fat nerd.
Oh, that's funny. So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
I would go to Greece, and you can rent one of those, you can get on one of those great big huge sailboats, and I would go on a barefoot sailing cruise for a day. That's what I would do. I would go around the Greek Isles. I would be on the boat. I would trim the sails. I would pull the sheets. I would do all those things. That's like on my bucket list of things I would like to do for a day.
That sounds amazing. And like the scenery would be gorgeous.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it would be fantastic.
Someday. See, that's more doable than some of, you know, the other ones. So I think, you know, someday you might get there.
Yeah. And I've loved other Flosstubers where they talk about maybe having a day with a relative that is no longer with them. I thought those were just so heartfelt, and so I just thoroughly enjoyed other people's answers. But when it came to the question, I'm like, apparently I'm a little self-centered. I just want to go sailing.
Well, no, and that's more tangible too to be able to do. So not self-centered. That sounds amazing. Sounds like a much needed day away.
Yeah, I don't know that it's possible. Well, it's definitely not possible right now, but I don't know that it's even possible. There's so many logistics to make that line up, but if I could snap my fingers, that's what I do.
That's awesome. So the next question is, do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch? I know you touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, I still do card making. And then one of the things I haven't done for a while, but it's kind of been calling my name, is I used to do soldering and I would make little charms and make little charm bracelets or pendants. And I would take pictures of family members. Like for my mom, I made her charms with all the grandkids that she could wear on a necklace. So soldering is one that has been kind of, you know, knocking on my brain. Hey, remember those things in the closet?
Oh, that's kind of neat. I've never, like, I have a soldering tool, and I used to, when I worked at Michael's years and years ago, and all my paycheck would go back into buying like the little beads and stuff to make jewelry. But I could never ever get the hang of a soldering tool to save my life. So that's pretty cool. You'll have to, if you have pictures or something, I'm curious to see what it's all about. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's fun.
So this is a fun one. How would your friends describe you?
Okay, so I like other Flosstubers, I asked my friends, and I'm like, okay, they are all so nice and so charming. They were like, she's positive, the glass is always half empty, loyal. Somebody said, you're kind of like a black lab, you know, you're loyal, you're always there for your family and friends. And then they're like, oh, but you're a big dog lover, so maybe that ties in.
Those are all amazing traits, for sure.
Yeah, they were nice.
Yeah. So how do you prefer to stitch? Hoop, Q-snap, light, that kind of thing?
So I do prefer to stitch in hand, and I need all the toys. I mean, I need my light hanging over me. I need the big magnifying glasses. If you've ever been on a Zoom stitch along with me.
You know, they're cool. These are readers, so it's the same concept.
Yeah. Oh, Becky, it's even worse. I have the readers. I don't wear these glasses. I wear readers and the magnifiers. I need all the help. And yeah, but stitch in hand is my favorite. I find that really relaxing, not having to hold the hoop or balance it.
Yep.
That's hard for me, as I've discussed endlessly on my Flosstube channel.
I remember the whole Q-snap debacle.
It went on for weeks.
Happens. That's like me with the scroll frames. I can't do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I could probably help you with the scroll frame.
We'll see, because I want to start another Mira, so I want to try a scroll frame. But
fun.
Yeah. So what is your preferred fabric?
I definitely like linen, and I think probably my favorite count is 32. Mm-hmm. I like the because on 32 I find you need to stitch with two strands of floss on 32, and I like more filled in stitching. I like that look of more filled in stitches. I've done things with one strand on 36 and 40 count, and especially 36 count, it's not as filled in, and so I'm always like, I can see lots of fabric down there.
Yeah, I mean, it's personal preference. You know, some patterns I really like the fuller stitches, and some I just like, you know, a little bit of a see-through, I guess. But yeah. So, where is your favorite place that you've traveled, and did you bring stitching along with you when you went?
Okay, so again, I have two. But it's because I worked in an airline. I worked at Northwest Airlines for 15 years, so I had flight benefits, so I was able to go everywhere.
That's awesome.
And okay, don't everybody gasp, but back in the day, if I sat in coach class, a round trip, they called it non-revenue travel, because we weren't, giving the company much money. Mm-hmm. Round trip in coach class was $20. What? Round trip in first class was $40.
Wow.
So I had the opportunity to go a lot of places, but one of my favorite places that I went to Australia. We flew into Sydney, and yes, I had cross stitch because I would stitch on the airplane. But once I hit the ground, I don't think I ever stitched in the hotel at night because there was too much to do. When you're in a new place, you got to go out and explore it, and maybe you went on tours all day, or you bummed around in a museum. You're just too tired in the evening.
Right.
So Sydney was great. And then I had a really good girlfriend, not that she's dead, she's still around. And so we actually went across Australia. So we took a couple flights within Australia, and then we ended up on the other side in Perth, and Perth is beautiful. And then from there, we went down to the island of Tasmania, and Tasmania is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And then we went to a nature park, and I actually got to see a Tasmanian devil. I got to see kangaroo. I got to see koala. I got to see a little wallabies. It was amazing. The whole thing was amazing. And then my second favorite trip that I took when I was working for Northwest Airlines is I went to Egypt, and I saw pyramids, and I'm claustrophobic. They actually got me to walk into a pyramid, and I'm like, I'm gonna regret it if I don't go in, if I don't just master this and go in. I mean, I went in as far as I could until I felt like there was no air. And then I had to scurry out. But so yeah, I saw the pyramids. I rode a camel. I'm like, if I'm in Egypt, I'm riding a dang camel. I saw the Sphinx.
Oh wow.
What is it? The Cairo Museum of History and Antiquity. So I saw mummies. I saw amazing things. So those are my top two. Wow. And again, I know I took stitching on the airplane, but I'm sure I didn't stitch the second we landed.
Both of those sound absolutely amazing. Like once in a lifetime kind of trip.
Exactly. Because I love to travel, but since I've stopped working at the airline, even though I have the time, it's not that I have the time. I have the vacation time, but there's so many logistics for traveling. Who's going to watch my house? Who's going to feed my dog? Yep. Can I talk my son into going with me?
And now it's not $20.
And it's not $20. Exactly. Can my husband get the time off? Coordinating all those things for free is so much harder than when I worked at Northwest, I was single. I could go, okay, I've got 5 days off. Let's go to Singapore. It's a completely different lifestyle. It sounds, very, very dramatic and very elegant. That's just what you did, because let me tell you, working in a telephone call center, it sucks.
Oh yeah, I know.
It totally sucks. And if you worked in one,
Yeah.
And so when you got to the point where your stress level was here, it's like, how can I cobble 5 days off and go someplace and recharge my batteries so I can come back and do that job again and not want to poke my eyes out with pencils?
Well, you're the best of both worlds. So you got to stitch at work, but then because of your work, you got to go on these amazing travel vacations. That sounds perfect.
Exactly. And then after 9/11, I got laid off at Northwest Airlines, and then I ended up working at Alaska Airlines for about 7 years.
Oh wow.
But the thing is, post 9/11 travel is not anywhere close to what I experienced when I worked at Northwest, because all the airlines shrunk down their flight schedules, and so you can only travel non-rev if there's a seat. There's no empty seats. we all know, I mean, when was the last time you were on an airplane? I mean, even pre-COVID,
Right.
where there was an empty seat next to you.
Yep. Not very often. That is
Not very
true at this
often.
point.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, that was a rabbit hole.
no, that was actually really interesting. I'm a little jealous. Actually, a lot, but.
Sorry.
So the next question is, what can you not do without for your stitching besides the basics? So your favorite go-to.
I need a Bitsy Bob, because I don't know, floss just falls away. I need that little pad, or the what is it, the caddy cross stitch, no,
Oh, snippety.
the snippety.
Yeah.
So I need one of those, and then I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I love the little blue bottles of the Thread Heaven, the waxer.
Yeah.
I still have 2 of them, and they're getting low. I find if I don't lube my thread, as Anna would say,
Yep.
that it just tangles in, and I don't know what I do. I must twist my needle. I get knots, and so that just helps me to stitch
without like getting knots, because mine knots up all the time, and then like I'll end up losing my needle. It'll fly somewhere because I'm like, but yeah, that was it. Thread Magic is the one that's not being made anymore.
I think it's one of them.
Yeah,
it's the one that was in the little blue box.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a new one, and I haven't had to buy it yet, and it's probably great, but I don't know yet.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I think I own one of them, but I haven't tried any. But I don't know which one I own. So the next question is a fun one. It's, how do you decide on what you're going to work on next?
Yes. So for a long time, it was driven by all of those challenge groups, the School of Magical Stitches and Enchanting Stitching. I would, look at the prompts and figure out what would fit in it. And that was great. But I've kind of gotten to the point where, I don't know, like something will just start saying, hey, you haven't talked to me for a while. And yeah, like right now I'm really looking towards fall stitching. I have 4 fall themed pieces that I'm going to start working on in August and September. So I don't feel like I'm a seasonal stitcher, but all of a sudden I'm like, oh, fall's coming. I've got to get these things done.
I've noticed that I started evolving too, kind of how you were, you did the whole group thing where you figured out what you're doing, and now you kind of a little bit more seasonal or whatever calls you. And the same with me, I used to do smalls and that kind of stuff, and I was a seasonal stitcher, and now I want to do samplers and Quakers and all this other stuff.
I saw you started a Quaker.
And I'm looking at block work. I was looking at that last night. It's like, why not? But
exactly.
It's fun to see how other stitchers like evolve in their tastes and what they're doing. Because I never in a million years thought that I would be stitching what I'm stitching now.
Exactly. Well, and then of course there's the whole Flosstube enabling that that's another influence as well. It's like, oh my gosh, you see somebody stitching that and you're like, I need to stitch that.
Yeah, it gets really, really dangerous. I'm watching Flosstubers that I didn't normally watch before because I wasn't stitching that kind of stuff, and now it's list really, really bad. Really bad.
I know. That's like, let's see. Well, I guess Erin keep showing that that do re mi stitch.
Oh, yep.
Okay. I do not need another big project, but that is like just bugging me because my mom is a wonderful singer. She's sang her whole life. She has this beautiful soprano voice, and I keep thinking she would love that. And then I'm like, but I would love it too. Would I have to stitch it twice?
Nope, I don't know.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. I'll just stitch it for mom.
Yeah, just stitch it for mom.
Join at my parents' house.
Yeah, you could do that because I think Erin is actually working on that big piece that had all the crosses.
Yeah.
Yeah, for her parents for their anniversary. So
Right.
You can start another project. I'm an enabler. I'm like, start all this.
Well, and
I want to do right now.
When I have fully kitted up Huckleberry Farm, and I haven't started it yet.
What? That is such a.
And I've got brandy fabric.
Did you get the huckleberries that she?
Yeah. Yep.
I wish they would have waited because she did it after I started, and I'm like, dang it. But it's gorgeous. Yeah, you need to start that because I'm in love with it. It's so gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. That, in fact, there were 2 pieces from market this year that I absolutely could not wait to start stitching, and one of them was Huckleberry, and the other one was Mary Mary Needleworker by Lindy Stitches. Yeah. Both of which are fully kitted. They're in project bags, and I haven't started them yet.
So I will tell you that people are talking about a new kind of mania for August. So that is your opening into starting all the things. I can't remember what it's called, but quite a few Flosstubers are talking about it, where it's arbitrary August, I think is what it is. Where
okay.
Like a new Stitch mania. There you go. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks,
to everybody. Start all the things. All right. So we are on to the last question. And
okay.
I always say this, it's my favorite one. But it is, what is the best thing that has happened to you so far this year?
Okay. I have thought about this question because I knew it was coming. And I ended up with the same answer every time, and I don't want everybody to think I'm completely nuts. We all know I'm kind of nuts. Quarantine. Because quarantine absolutely stripped my life down to the bare essentials. And that might sound yucky, but what it did was it gave me the opportunity to evaluate, what do I need to do? What do I want to do? What can I do without? And figuring what I could do without is actually really liberating. And it gave me endless time with my son to have really deep conversations that would never have happened without quarantine. I mean, we've talked about coronavirus, we talked about, Black Lives Matter and the social unrest, and those are conversations that I think without quarantine we never would have had. And so it enabled us to kind of form a deeper bond, because he's 16. Talking to your mom is not that much fun at 16.
Oh yeah, I have a 16-year-old, so I know.
and because of quarantine, we started Zoom virtual meetups, which never would have happened without it. Yeah. And again, friendships have been strengthened and new friendships have been formed because of that. And I know it doesn't seem like that should be the best thing, because at the same time, quarantine totally sucked. I had a meltdown about 3.5 weeks in. I said to my husband, with tears coming down my face, if I have to cook one more dinner, I'm gonna lose it. And he's like,
just need a break, that's all. No,
because I don't cook 7 days a week. I've never cooked 7 days a week. I mean, after cooking, a breakfast and a dinner and everybody's on their own for lunch, after about 21 meals, I was done.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I agree with you. And that's what I say is, coronavirus sucks. The pandemic is horrible. People have gotten sick. People have lost loved ones.
Absolutely.
But it's the same for me, just being home with my family. I have, my daughter's 21. We got to celebrate her 21st birthday together, which was awesome. My youngest daughter, like, we've just become closer. So it's not strange or weird at all that you say that that's the best thing that's happened to you, because I totally agree. Yeah, you've been on, we both have hosted. We get people from all over the world. We would have never have met them had we not, thought about doing these Zoom meetups and wanting to be with other Stitchers, why we can't be with anybody else. So
right.
Yeah. It's just been an amazing time, but also a sad and heartbreaking time all at once.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying coronavirus is the best thing, but the quarantining, having to be, having to figure out how to get through that has, it showed me some things that I don't think I would have ever seen without that opportunity of just being at home and figuring out, how am I going to get through the next minute, the next hour, the next day, the next week.
I think it strengthened us as a person and as a family for a lot of people too. That's an awesome answer. It really is. And that ends it on a very positive and happy note, which is why I asked that question at the end of the interviews, even though the interviews are still a lot of fun anyways. But
yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, I love that question. So yep, it's my favorite. But that is it. This was a very, very fun interview. I loved it, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do it and chat with me. And I know everybody is going to enjoy your channel. I'll put all the links and everything down below so everybody can go check you out. And
yes, well, thank you for asking me. I am honored to be asked. I mean, I'm in the Pam and Steph Club. How cool is that?
Yeah, I was
the Soulful Stitcher Club.
No, these interviews have been a lot of fun, and I like to reiterate, I think I said it in my last video, is they're not in any particular order, which it kind of sucks, because yes, they're in an order, but it's not like I chose people in a particular order thing, but it's fun for people just to go through and get to know other Flosstubers and other Stitchers. So yeah, so thank you so much, and we're gonna say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye, Flosstube land.